In this tutorial we're going to look at how to synthesize a kick drum. Using the TAL Noisemaker, we are going to create our own bass drum sound, our own kick drum. This is going to be using MIDI information, so the first thing we need to do is take the TAL Noisemaker from the plugins folder and click and drag onto one of our MIDI tracks. The TAL Noisemaker is a free synth that's downloadable off the internet from the Togu Audio Line website. We will look at some of the parameters involved, but we'll need to open Synth 2. I'm going to move it over to the side of the screen so we can see everything that's happening. We now have an instrument loaded in, but Ableton doesn't know what to do with it. You'll notice that it also names the track depending on what we have dragged into the clip view. We have a range of different clips. Double click on the top one. It will create a MIDI section. It allows us to add information, and if we click on any of these notes, that's the sound being produced from the synthesizer. You'll also notice that now we've added an instrument, we have a volume control should we need it. I'm going to find C1 by simply scrolling. What I am looking at here, if I just minimize this for a moment, is one entire bar of music. That's the length of this clip that we've created. We're going to create a very simple dance beat. So our bass drum is going to be on every beat of the bar, every crotchet beat of the bar. So that's this first one, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. To add the information, we simply click on the little segment that we want the note to appear in. Now at the minute it does not sound like a bass drum. If we want to have a listen to what this does sound like, and make sure the rhythm is correct, we click on the little triangle. This will play the clip. Ableton loops these clips until we tell it to do anything else. To stop the clip, we press this stop button on the channel itself. So at the moment this doesn't sound like a bass drum. That's because we haven't told the synthesizer how to behave. This is the waveform. This is the sound that we are hearing. And I want to use a very simple waveform for a bass drum, known as a sine wave. We don't have one available in oscillator 1, so we need to use oscillator 2 instead. Select sine from the drop-down list. We have a master volume control over here. Now these are the individual volumes for oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. Notice that because we are now using oscillator 2 but it is turned down. I need to turn that up, and I'm going to get rid of oscillator 1 from the mix. I'm also going to take away the sub-frequency content. Still doesn't sound like a bass drum. That's because of a number of things. The waveform is behaving according to the length of the MIDI information we've got in there. We need a bass drum to sound very short, and that's using the ADSR envelope generator. It stands for attack, decay, sustain, and release. Typically a bass drum has a very short attack, a very short sustain, and a very short release. So I'm going to bring all those down to 0. It is now the decay that will change this from the sound we just heard into something that sounds a bit more like a bass drum. I will start with it in its up position. I'm going to reduce the level of this until it starts to sound more like the desired tone that we're after. Notice that we've now got slightly more of a kick sound to it. This would suffice, but we are going to do some more parameter changes to make it sound even better. We're going to use our second ADSR. These controllers, these rotary controllers, effectively do the same as the sliders, but we have less of them. We only have an attack and a decay. What I want to do is take the waveform that is being created by the oscillator and cause the pitch to drop very quickly. We do this by telling the ADSR envelope generator what parameter to control. So we click on the destination and select oscillator 2. I'm now going to turn my decay all the way up, and I'm going to turn my destination all the way up. This controls how much of the ADSR we are sending to control the pitch of oscillator 2. Let's have a listen. So if I reduce my destination, and I reduce my decay, we now have something that does sound a bit more like a bass drum. That's how it sounded originally. We've just given it a bit of more of an interesting feel. The last thing that I want to do is use the filter section. This allows us to remove frequency content from the original sound, and as you can imagine, a bass drum is made of very low frequencies. So we have a list of different types of filters that we can use. LP stands for low pass. That is that it allows the low frequencies to pass through it, but cuts out the high frequencies. HP is high pass, and that does the opposite. It cuts out the low frequencies but allows the high ones to pass. These are the two that we're going to focus our attention on. I'm going to use the low pass, but I'm going to use the 12 dB, so it's not quite as an aggressive filter. The cutoff control dictates where that frequency starts to be cut off, therefore removing the high frequency. You can hear it starts to sound slightly duller as we take more out. Find a position you're happy with. We can then turn the reso control up. This is for resonance, and this gives a little bit of a peak in the frequency. It turns almost like turning that frequency band up that we've chosen in the cutoff. This might allow us to pitch the instrument slightly better. Just gives us slightly more thud. I can close my synth down, and there's my bass drum.